going live?
Oh, it's going live, John. I know.
I actually have something written down. So welcome everyone to our last meeting of 2024. I want to start by acknowledging our traditional territories of the Inca and Silk people, as well as the Métis community. And as you know, this last Saturday past, we had a death within the community of one of our students at Central School. And so we wanted to take a moment and reflect on that as well. I think you had the photo up a moment ago.
Yeah, just looking for that.
And that
Sure,
that was Presley, who had passed away. And really a shout out to the community as well, because on Tuesday, the truckers and the tow truck drivers and all the emergency vehicles who all paraded in support of her passing. It was really great to see that coming together in the community.
Could I just acknowledge central staff?
Yes.
In all of this, we spent most of Monday, district staff and Misty Sheldon with central staff, and we just can't say enough about the compassion and care that central staff gave to the students of the school. It really needs to be acknowledged.
And we certainly want to recognize the staff as well for
Yeah,
their work through a trying period, which is continuing at the school.
Yes, thank you.
We were also very lucky, and Cabinet Health reached out to provide some supports as well. And we have a crisis response team led by Misty, and they did an amazing job. These are really hard tragedies to work your way through, but they did an excellent job. And the staff really came together to support one another. So it's been a hard week, but we're helping each other through it. So.
And similarly, NVIT offered counseling support as well, which was really appreciated. It's looking.
Okay. So we're not able to share.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if I could get a motion to approve the open meeting minutes held November 13th. Moved by trustee Rayner, seconded by trustee Chenoweth. Anyone opposed? Carried. Any business arising from the minutes? There's also in your package the report of the closed meeting held November 13th for information. The education reports in your package, and I believe Danielle is going to be doing early learning and childcare report live.
She is.
Hi, everyone. And we're not able to share?
We're trying to share it.
Okay, I can go forward without if necessary. So just wanted to give an update on some exciting things happening in early learning. So one of the first initiatives I'd like to talk about is changing results for young children. I have prepared a handout, and I'll maybe because we don't have the PowerPoint out, I'll give that.
Thank you, Dick.
And so changing results for young children is an initiative that's funded through the Ministry of Education and Childcare. And the premise is to shine light on the early learning framework and the social emotional well-being of young children. As part of that work, we come together in a community of practice, both teacher educators as well as ECE educators. And we're engaging in some, thanks, Dylan. We're engaging in some professional development this year. As part of that professional development, we've used some data as well as the focus on the child-centered learning and fostering rich play-based learning. And we're delving into sessions on a story workshop. So this first picture, there's two pictures side by side. It's the same student. And so Story Workshop is using loose parts, a combination of natural materials that can be used with imagination and creativity to create stories. What I love about it is that, so first of all, we had our first session and teachers were really fired up about it. Our ECEs were really excited as well. And then I promptly got invited into a classroom and said, can you come help? I want to try it. And I was like, yes. So I got to go down to John Allison in Mickey Lee Ransom's class. And she had her materials beautifully curated. Dylan, could you go on to the next slide, please? And so you can see some of the items. So first of all, when you set materials up, you set up a place that is so well organized and so well structured for kids. And there's different textures and different things to engage with. The curiosity that was in that room was just bubbling. So Mickey Lee chose a really great anchor text for the first activity. She read a story. She front-loaded the children. They were super excited. They gathered their materials and got to work. You'll notice in the upper right-hand corner, there's a piece of turf. That's from Riverside. I came back with a roll of turf and said, hey, this is left over. Can we use it for a story mat? So the kids loved the sensory pieces of that. They take these pieces and then they have a task. So in this case, this is a mix of two different days. One day they had to choose a story about a brave character. And the next, I can't actually, I'm sorry, it eludes me at the moment what the second text was, but each one has a focused task and then they create the story. They then draw it out, which was that first slide. You can see the drawing side by side. And once they get to that piece, they're also telling the story to the adults. So we were walking around and listening to the stories, and then they go through and they write a story. The explosion of motivation in writing was phenomenal. It was such an exciting thing to be a part of. Word of mouth got out after our first session, and I've had since signed up a few more educators to join us, which is great, I think. And I've been invited into some other classes to help. So I'm really excited about this, and I'm excited about the possibilities for writing and literacy, as well as the opportunity for every child to have an opportunity to tell story. And we know how important story is in learning, and the opportunity, the multiple access points for children who maybe are struggling with the writing piece, but they can get started on the building and the oral language piece, and then we can support them through the next phase. So such a great opportunity for us. So Strong Start. So I love Strong Start. Look what Strong Start's doing. So the cool thing about this is that I have ECE and educators working together on loose parts. Our Strong Start is also starting with loose parts. So of course, parts that are supervised and available for their age group, but that continuity of learning, they're starting early with that creativity and that ability to imagine and pretend and structure. So these ones had specific tasks. There was a cookie decorating one and then a snowflake building one, but that you can see how you can then build from there. Yeah. The other piece that's been exciting about Strong Start is Lift the Lip. Used to be a service that was offered through Interior Health that they would come into the school and work on dental hygiene. They'd be able to check dental teeth for children. They can no longer screen at the school. There's privacy and things like that that go into that, but they offer to come and do workshop and support parents with understanding the importance of dental hygiene. So we just recently had Michael Leese, he's from Interior Health, and he came to all three of our Merit locations, and I'm working with the connection for Princeton, and they're hoping to come in sometime after Christmas or probably around Ready, Set, Learn time. So I think it's a great partnership to have. Say to Kate. So in the past, you might remember we've had 2 community tables that are working on either side of either side of our district. Last year, we were at Nicola Camford and we did primary fun day. We did kind of like a ready, set, learn and a making connections presentation at both Nowayatch and Shakin as part of our work. We brought out a bus for the kids to get a bus ride on before they start kindergarten. We talked about bus safety. We've also done the Little Big People events in the past. We've done the teddy bear picnic in Princeton and the Let's Play Outside. Last year in Merit, the committee earmarked some funds to partner with Literacy Merit. And we are bringing a performing group in January, Bob's and Lolo. They're coming to do a music presentation for the target age group is that 3 to 5 year old age group. But of course, we will be open for all littles. It's on a Friday evening at the end of Literacy Week. So that's pretty exciting. We do have tables at either end of the community still this year. John Allison, we've had our first meeting and we're trying to figure out connection. We look at a combination of EDI data, and then we also talk to the representatives around the table about what they're hearing parents are needing to really make connections with the school before children need to walk through the door of kindergarten so that they have an opportunity to connect and learn. In Merit, we're focused at Merit Central this year as the focus community. And again, we've had our first meeting and we've started to engage in that work to talk about what it's going to continue to look like as we go forward. The after school program. So the after school program has really taken off this year. We're full right now, which is awesome. So we rotate through the schools here on the Merit end. Our first session was at Diamondvale. Our session now, just wrapping up next week, is at Merit Bench. Variety of activities have been offered. We've been able to do things like, for the schools that are close in town here, we can walk to some locations that make it sort of easy to manage. So we've gone to PTC Gym and the kids have had an experience there. We have done some, this time they're doing clay work and Play-Doh. So in the top picture, they're making their own Play-Doh, lemonade scented. And then in this, the bottom left, they have been using modeling clay, so you can see the progression of skills and activities. The intermediates have also been working on some floor hockey games and gym activities. Data and collaborative support meetings. So we've done our district data capture November 30th. Teachers have been working really hard to get their assessments done. And then we've started our first collaborative support meeting, which is a nice way to talk about how we can support all children and ensure that they continue on their a positive learning trajectory. And that's it for now.
That's
a lot.
Pieces that we've got going on across the district and early learning.
Yeah, it's exciting
Questions
time.
for Danielle?
I would just like to say Daniela is nothing if not humble, and she sort of has very quietly put data and collaborative support meetings at the end, but the commitment and leadership she has shown in those collaborative support meetings can't be understated, and the kind of conversations that happen when a facilitated conversation among caring professionals. And I just think, Daniela, I know how humble you are, but that deserves special recognition.
Yeah, it's important work. And I think when we can have great conversations about how we continue to support our kids and make sure that they're on a positive learning trajectory, that's time well spent. Yeah.
I suppose ideas get developed at that point too, or like.
Yeah, so I mean, the real goal is to talk about how, so we have a team of district staff who go and attend. And it's really about collaborating and talking about what else can we do. A lot of times there's already amazing things happening. And so if we can add any extra supports, we talk about that. So for example, at our last one of the supports is I'm going to go in and help facilitate some of the story workshop to just help a group of kiddos who just need a little extra boost and an opportunity to explore writing in a different way.
Yeah.
And so I think it just is a great way for us to sit and more heads together and problem solve and work together.
I would just say I was in Mickey Lee's classroom and she spoke very positively about the PD and her kids were excited to tell me about the stories that they were writing. And we've identified writing as an area of growth for our district. So, building excitement around these pieces, like very well received. So thank you for putting that together. And Daniela is very modest. We try hard with those collaborative support meetings. It's really about honoring the work that's been done at the school already, and then what are further supports that we can put in place to support the students. And Daniela leads that work and she does an amazing job with it. She can tell you about most of the kids in our district. So just thank you for what you do.
Thank you, Daniela.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Have a good
Thank
night.
you.
Contract renewal. Or we want a field trip, no, field trips, I think is next. No contract renewal.
Okay, so as we discussed for our local agreement, we'll need a motion to ratify from our open meeting.
Sorry, I skipped the superintendent's report.
And Indigenous Ed.
And it
And
did-
you just said, okay, I was just doing as I was told, so,
You did say they were in the packages.
Yeah,
for
Yeah,
people to look
okay.
at.
yes.
Okay.
okay. So do you want me to do my superintendent's report or do the ratification?
You can do the ratification and then
Okay.
the superintendent's report, and I will declare my conflict of interest. For the ratification,
Okay,
and John as well, so. We'll be stepping out again. We both have people who work within education. Over to you, Vice Chair Ward.
so we had a very successful round of bargaining, positive agreement, I would say, from both the employer and the teacher union side. So the next step in the process would be a motion to ratify the agreement. And then it goes to the teachers for ratification. And then if both sides agree, it becomes a binding local agreement. Thank you. Any questions?
Just, and the QP's in May next year.
So QP opens up in March. And there's a little bit different. So for teacher bargaining, there's actually an end date for local bargaining. It's end of February. QP is a little bit different. It opens in March, but it doesn't actually close until an agreement is reached.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, so Superintendent Lawrence would be looking for a motion in support of the ratification.
I move that we accept.
All right,
Ratification.
Trustee Rare and Trustee Kent Laidlaw. And then any further discussion, any questions?
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Really good work.
It was a very positive bargaining table. So just really kudos to our labor consultant, Tammy, and our director of HR, and then a really positive bargaining team from the teacher's side. So, just a positive experience all the way around, which is a good news story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like those.
All right, so we're looking to support, looking for a motion, all in favor?
Favor.
All right,
Great
passed.
stuff.
Great work, Superintendent Lawrence.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Well, you got them?
Yeah. Wrangle them back in.
You can leave them out there.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes, ma'am.
We missed the field trips.
Well.
I think we'll do the field trips first and then we can do the reports.
And Indigenous Ed.
Indigenous Ed was A on the agenda, but whatever.
In the
order-
package. Were there any questions around Indigenous Ed or the inclusive ed? One thing I would highlight from the Indigenous Ed is our post-secondary trips that were very successful. They took the kids to UBC, UBCO, and UVic. And they did a number of, kind of like experience things on this trip. So really, really positive. And something I think that we do very well as a district and would be a good practice to continue.
It looked great.
I love all the pictures that we get. Those are fun to see.
And if you haven't had a chance to read the Indigenous Student Advocates newsletter, really great document of the wonderful things happening in our district. And I really like the last 2 pages where we had pictures of our ISAs, so you could put like a face to the name.
Yeah.
Also thought it was a really like nice document that they put together. So some really good work happening in Indigenous ed.
Is that on the web, like?
Yeah, it's actually, there's a link on my superintendent's report, so when we post this one, then people will also be able to link and see it, but did a really good job putting that together and really highlighting the different aspects of both culture and language that we encourage in our district, and just really nice to kind of see the work that our unsung people in our schools are doing.
Shelley must be pleased.
Yeah, she's very pleased with it. And you know what, I think there's kind of a tie to the work that our Indigenous student advocates are doing, our post-secondary trips, and we have pretty good transition rates to post-secondary out of our district, especially for Indigenous learners. So, I think there's a connection to the larger work that's going on there. So really positive things. In Misty's report for inclusive ed, the one that I would highlight is the Roots of Empathy. If you're not familiar with that program, matches a mom and baby. They come into the school. It's been running probably for decades at this point, but it's a really nice program, makes that community connection, and really kind of helps kids learn about that cycle of life. And then, it's kind of a bit of a forever connection of when you see that child out in the community, you remember when they were little. So just some really good work going on all across our district. And speaking of that, that's a nice segue into our superintendent's report. You'll notice that it's become thicker. It's become now a bit of a competition to see who can and share the most about their schools. But this is actually my favorite part of a board meeting, is sharing the good work of our district. So starting with Collettville Elementary School, Division 3. So Jory is our teacher there at Collettville. Chat and Gora, I'm sure I'm butchering that name, but I was actually able to go see these plays. And Jory did a really good job setting it up. So they were 20-minute intervals throughout the day, and they ran them twice so that parents would have an opportunity to come see their students. So, you can't always get an hour or 2 off work, but maybe you can take that 20 minutes. So she did a really good job scheduling it. The kids were so cute. They had made props. They had a little set. Some of them fully had their lines memorized, just super cute experience. And I was really appreciated being invited to that one. Looking at Diamondville, Diamondville is actually going to be our first school that's going to try an evening Christmas concert again since the COVID season. Yeah. They're the ones that are taking the leap, and they're going to try it and see how it goes, which I think will be a huge opportunity for parents that can't get time off during work. And then they'll be able to share their experience with the other schools. Now most of them have moved to the day, but they get a lot of credit for moving it to an evening performance. So just something I wanted to highlight for that school. Looking at Nicola Canford does an excellent job with land-based education. We often see a field trip or a connection to the land in the things that they share with us. And then really interesting things going on in classrooms, creation of the snow globes. Often when I popped into Heidi's class, they have some interesting experiment going on. So just some really good learning pieces going on there. At Bench, art was a major theme this month. Really nice bulletin boards of student created work, which kind of echoes what we're displaying in our own boardroom, just really recognizing the talents and gifts of our students. So something that's really nice to highlight there. John Allison, some of our cutest kids, it's a different feeling when you walk into a K to 3. And I've had the pleasure of being there a couple times this month. One thing our district does really well is not only remembering Remembrance Day, but also Indigenous Veterans Day. Showing the reverence to the occasion. And then there's always great hands-on learning going on at that school as well. Skides, you know what, Skides is really stepping up their game with their submissions lately. This one highlights different athletes across our province who are part of our Skides program. So if you click the links or you type in this, you'll come up with pictures of our different students, which, you know, for a distance learning school, they're not recognized in the same way. So I thought Skies did an excellent job with this. And it's become kind of one of the goals there, you know, making that personal connection and really highlighting our kids in a way that you might not get in a distance learning center. PSS. The grade ones from Allison came out to PSS and they read and were cooking with the Posse hockey team, which was a huge event. I heard all about it when I was there. And then we did a grade 9 Indigenous Youth Conference out at Rock Ridge. Heard really positive things from kids and staff. So lots of like really good pieces going on there. CLC, so our alternate learning. One of the nice things we have about CLC is Take a Hike is a program that works there, and it's really about getting out, connecting with the land, making that connection to learning. But part of the work that they did around Remembrance Day is not only honoring the fallen soldiers, but they tied that into beading by making poppies, but then also a connection to English. So, you know, really nice kind of project-based cross-curricular connections going on there. And I think it's something that really sets them apart as an alternate learning environment. There's some really good things going on at that school. If you get a chance, I encourage you to pop in. They like visitors. And the kids always have something interesting to talk about there. Daniela covered most of hers with her early learning presentation, which she did an amazing job on. But I think one of the things that's great about our Strong Start is that community connection, you know, bringing parents, you know, not just giving them a pamphlet, like this is the resource, but bringing those supports in. So it's more of an in-reach rather than an outreach approach, but she's doing some great work with that. Merit Central always have lots of entries for us. The ones that I would highlight is Miss Morrison's grade 1 class did the land acknowledgement at the opening of the new bridge. You know, she did it Saturday morning with the kids. So, you know, she gave up her time. She got parents to take the kids there, and they're absolutely adorable. She teaches grade 1, but just a really nice thing to give back. And if you don't know Taylor's story, the teacher, she worked for us as an EA, went back to school, and one of our best and brightest. So just a really great lady doing wonderful things with our kids in our school. And I wanted to give a shout out to Mr. Shea, coached not only at Merit Central, but also came up and coached a team for us at MSS. And they won their intermediate championship. So after many years of a drought, from what I'm understanding. MSS, two things that I really want to highlight. Oh, there's a lot of really great things going on there. They also mentioned the post-secondary trips. But one of them is there's a new updated and inclusive process for the course for graduation. It's looking beyond just academic areas. So it's looking at leadership. There's an Indigenous component. There's people that may not have qualified for a course in a different way, but they provide some kind of service or contribution to the school. They're very proud of that work. It's very innovative. And you know what, there's kind of conversation around, you know, is chords kind of an old practice, you know, honoring things, but I think they've made it much more inclusive and they're very excited about this work. So we'll be happy to see that come to fruition at graduation ceremony. And the other thing I wanted to highlight, and you probably saw this one on Facebook, Miss Denton's Psychology 11 class organized a teen-to-teen toy drive. The entire school collected more than 500 items, which is going to the food bank. You know, just the generosity of our kids and our families. I think this really speaks to the good, kind, caring kids that we have in our school. If you ever walk into MSS, you know what, our kids are friendly, they're polite, they are welcoming. And I think just really shows that we are producing responsible, ethical citizens that give back. And it's something to be really proud of. So I just wanted to highlight the work of the teacher, the class, and the kids there, because it was absolutely amazing. And there were some great stories. They were picked up on some of the other Facebook pages in our community. You might notice Vermilion Forks wasn't in this one, just with the leave of our principal, but they should have an entry for January. But lots of really good things going on at Vermilion Forks as well. Their kids participated in the band concert, along with the senior kids in the community band, did a phenomenal job. And just a shout out to Myrna, our band teacher in Princeton, goes out of her way, really brings those kids a long way from September until you come to the concert. Just passionate about it and passionate about not only still being in the school, but also just giving back to Princeton and that arts component. So just it was a lovely night at their concert. And the kids have come a long way, and it's lovely that we can have that in both of our communities for band. So just an amazing night all the way around. So if you are available to go to Princeton when they do their concert in the spring, you're more than welcome to. And the band will be performing at their Christmas concert on the 17th. So, but you know what, this is always my favorite part of our board meeting. And since I've kind of issued the challenge of like, the trustees are competitive, they look for their schools, we're getting even better, great news stories. And this is actually one of the things I like about being superintendent, is highlighting the good work that's going on in our schools. It's always kind of those sad news stories or hard news stories that kind of, take precedent, but this really reminds us of the good work that we do and the great things that are going on in our school. And we're lucky to have the kids that we do. So just a nice way to kind of enter into December as we head to that Christmas and winter holiday season.
So your challenge as trustees will be to cover the things that superintendent didn't cover. So it'll be a hard task for you.
Notice there's a lot of turkey lunches.
There is.
There you go, John.
That's right.
It's a tradition that started at, I think the original one was Central, and then it spread out to the other schools. And I think that's a credit as our admin, move up from vice principal to principal, they bring those fun traditions to their new school. We have a lot of really great things going on. And it's like John pointed out, these are all of our winter holiday events, which is a lot for the size of the community that we are. But just really grateful for the staff and the kids that we have. So, and lots to be proud of as a board.
Thank you.
That's a great report. Thank you for that. Now I think we're at the field trip.
Okay, so Princeton Secondary School would like to plan a trip for 2026. As you're aware, we have a new policy around field trips, curricular excursions. I worked with the team from the school, so they're in compliance with our new policy. The major one is the hardship question of what are you going to have in terms of fundraising, so that if you didn't have those funds, you'd be able to work towards it, so you aren't automatically not able to attend. And one of the things that the kids said is, some of them are going to get part-time jobs to work to support this. My recommendation as superintendent would be to approve it in principle. I think for a lot of our kids, this may be the only opportunity they have to travel internationally, just because the costs are rising for those international travel. These are well-seasoned teachers who have been on multiple trips, and they're using a reputable company, EF, which is the one I used to go with when I took kids on travel. So that would be my recommendation. I'm not sure if there's any questions.
Dave,
Just one for actually Jane. It says in the first line here that we'll be traveling to Italy, Europe. I keep seeing Spain and Portugal, so on the letter.
yeah, that started in Portugal, I believe.
No, that's just, that's an error. It is a trip to Portugal. There was
And Spain.
the original package involved Italy, and that was missed in the
Oh, okay.
corrections. So I
Okay, cool.
apologize.
That's
Yeah,
good.
it is Spain and Portugal.
Justin.
I answered my own question. Wow.
Just one.
You looking for a mover?
Just one suggestion from me for their having traveled with some students this summer to Guatemala. It was really helpful. We made sure we made a photocopy of everyone's passport, just in
Okay.
case something happened. And I noticed in their number 7, they've got the travel permissions and birth certificates. I'd really encourage them to also have a copy of the passport, because if something happens that.
I know what you're saying. We had a passport go missing on one of my trips, so I'll remind them of that piece.
So probably someone from Princeton would like to move this. Trustee Ward, seconded by trustee. And Laidlaw.
Already getting, I'm getting, so I want to go, Mom.
I wanna go.
It actually looks like a great trip. Like I'm looking
Okay,
at
so
their
this is
itinerary.
approval in
It looks
principle.
Question, it's got kids from MSS as well?
They have extended it out to MSS. They're not sure if they'll get any takers because MSS is doing a trip, I think this spring break,
Yeah.
but they normally open it up, and Merit is normally good when they do a trip. They normally open it up the other
Good,
way as well.
that's nice to see.
Yeah.
I think that when they went to Italy last year, there was a combination of kids from both schools. It was
Fantastic.
like, I think it was a fairly even split actually, so, and it was. That one, from what I've heard from the kids who went, was a really great,
That's awesome.
really great experience.
Anyone opposed? That's carried, excellent.
Good.
Contract renewal.
Hey, not quite as exciting as the field trip. Just want to bring awareness to the board. The board's external auditor contract is up. This September 30th marked the completion of our contract. So really 2 options for consideration is we can look at a 1-year contract for this year and then go to RFP next year for a 3 to 5 year contract, or we can go to RFP right now.
Start with Dave and then myself.
Just to Dylan, are you, as the main man here, how do you feel, or how would you feel dealing with BDO?
Yeah, we've, been working with the current auditor, for about 4 years now, and we've had a good working relationship with them. I think, I know I can't speak on behalf of the board, but I think that the experience has been positive at the board level as well.
Like a follow-up. Do you think that a change might initiate some different viewpoints, looking at our finances or with that?
Yeah, I mean, change is never a bad thing, getting a different perspective, definitely, a continuity, there's benefits to continuity, and then there's also benefits to change. I think, either way would be, a suitable option. I think we're in a good place to entertain one way or the other. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, 2 questions on my end, then over to Justin.
Is there any real cost difference either way?
There, it is a significant cost, so like, per year, we're talking in the neighborhood of, upwards of $25,000.
But is anything gonna get significantly changed between now and a year from now, where a 3 to 5 year agreement might be more financially responsible?
So in the last 3 to 5 year contract, they started out, the first year was a little bit less, and then they got more and more as the contract went on.
So 1 year contract might be a little bit more expensive than.
Possibly.
Yeah.
So mine is, does the current contract allow for an extension? Because our policy, if it's over 5,000, has to go to tender.
Yeah.
The current contract.
No, it doesn't have a provision for extending it. Yeah. And to speak to the policy, I think, because we do need multiple quotes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have to have
I
a-
did talk to Focus Ed about it, and that was the recommendation.
Yeah, just.
Yeah.
Want to make sure if we're gonna go against our policy, we have a good reason not to follow policy.
So maybe we should just go to RFP.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I think that Dave's got a good point. Even the RFP process might raise some things that we hadn't thought about and different viewpoints or something, so.
Okay, so your motion.
Motion to go straight to.
Okay. The motion is to go straight to RP, seconded by trustee Jepson. Anyone opposed? Carried. Wait.
Yep, for the past few years, the school district's been providing a late bus service on the merit side of the school district. Funded through on the British Columbia Tripartite Education Agreement. Also part of the cost is picked up by the district's operating fund. The total cost for providing this service, and the service is intended to allow bus students to participate in extracurricular activities and then still afterwards. And to provide the service is approximately $190,000. This year, funding received by the BCT was cut by approximately $70,000. So leaving only about $30,000 of BCT funding for the late bus. Regretfully, the school district is just not in a position to continue the service because of that change. And so as of December 20th, we will need to end that service. We, as a district, we're committed to offering the best transportation services. We are going to be seeking alternative measures. We're looking at Jordan's principle as a possibility. And also looking at seeing how we can leverage our BC transit system as well as a possible solution for students.
Laidlaw, and then trustee Rager after that.
So this says that it was funded through BCT and also through the school district. But the funding was cut by BCT. How much was the funding that we were putting in prior to that? So was it like a 50-50 split? Was it 70? 30?
Yeah, I would say more 50-50. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's 190,000
Yeah,
and
it's
BCT at 100.
We had 90.
So a little bit more. Yeah, I mean, pretty close to the middle.
But just wondering if there was some data on how many students were using.
Yeah, so we ran 3 buses. And on one bus A, we'll call it, average ridership was 1 student per day. And we were running the service from Monday till Thursday. Bus 2, the average ridership was 1 per day. And then bus 3, average ridership was 10 per day. As low as 7 and as high as 14 was the highest number. So, yeah, so the ridership was definitely low. And yeah.
So did we get an answer from BCT on why the funding was cut?
So the reason that the funding was cut in previous years, so with the BCT agreement, the school district works with its First Nations to establish a transportation plan. And so the district and the First Nations sign off on what that plan is. It's represented by to and from school supports, such as mileage. It's also represented by additional supports. In our case, the additional supports have been mainly in the way of bus supervision. And then the third support is extracurricular. What's been happening through the last number of years is that the funding that has been used for the bus supports, the bus supervision, hasn't been utilized. And so as a result, those monies were actually helping offset some of the costs of the late bus. When we met with First Nations for this year and put in our transportation plan together, it was mutually agreed that, you know what, we haven't been using the bus monitor supports. And instead, we should be redirecting that towards the extracurricular. And so on our application this year, that is what we did. The working group for BCT, however, they did not approve that. They have a cap on what they will allow for extracurricular supports. And in that case, it's $30,000. And so that's the reason for that. Yeah.
Justin and then myself. And then, but Justin, Dave, and then myself.
Oh, I was gonna ask, have we consulted with, communicated with the ridership to let them know that this service is ending?
So right now, the bus is only stopping at MSS. In the spring, it typically picked up from our after-school programs. So I've met with our principal and she's going to meet individually with the students. The transit bus does go out to Lower Nicola, but that's our only band that extends ridership. Unfortunately, it ends at 5, but that was when our late bus left anyways. So we've talked about if we need to support kids for the extracurricular, looking at transit passes, if there's an extracurricular event. So we're working on that piece. But we're making sure that the kids are aware. So we've sent the letter home, we've discussed with the school, and we've asked the school to specifically talk to the kids that were taking the bus so that they are aware. Part of, I think what we've discovered in this is I don't think it was really solving the problem it was intended to solve anyways, because it was only running till 5. If the kids were staying for extracurricular sports, which could go, some of the practices go as late as 9:45, it wasn't really solving that issue. And then as we saw from ridership on some of our buses, it was a really underutilized service. So we're, as Dylan mentions in his memo, we're exploring the option with Jordan's principal of either whether we could get a van or possibly a minibus, and look at how we deliver that service in a different way. So whether kids, book so that we can have it go later on into the night, but not great that we lost the funding, but I think probably good that we turned a critical eye to it. If we were we getting value for dollar and it wasn't solving what we were trying to solve?
Yeah.
And I think the answer would be no. What's a better way of moving forward to look at it? So we're going to explore those options.
I think that's the most important part for me is not just ending it and then closing the book and moving on to the next issue, but really making sure that if there is a problem here that we can solve, trying to find a solution.
And that's the piece that we see. These ones are hard for me personally, because when it's impacting kids, you would want our kids not only to participate during the day at the school, but also those events, because it builds that sense of community. And research tells us if you're connected in the school, you're more likely to have just better life outcomes all the way around. So we're looking at how do we support it. So we're looking at all the options. So hopefully we can find one and meet the need that's there.
Dave and then myself.
Yeah, I would just like to make sure that we are maybe making the chiefs aware of the issue, and maybe we should have that on our agenda with the chiefs when we talk to them and see if we can work something out there.
So Dylan and I met with the education coordinators, and I actually think it would be a great topic for when we do have our chiefs meeting about what are some ideas that we can do to move this forward. And I think many opinions and ideas are better than trying to figure out a solution all on your own. So I think it's a really good topic that we could bring forward.
And I just want to make sure we flag it at budget time, because, and I may be wrong in this, but my original understanding when it was brought forward was it was being funded through BCT. So I think we need to be aware of that, especially where our budget is. And as I say, if we can find a better busing solution, but that was quite a number of dollars out of our operating fund that at least myself wasn't aware that it was coming from there. Amended budget update memo. I think that's it.
Yes, this is a brief update, just informing trustees, enclosing the board package are our key dates for budget. We finished our student enrollment count in September, which sets the stage for final funding, which is typically announced in December. We received correspondence from the Ministry of Education and Childcare this past week that funding announcement that typically takes place in December will now take place in January due to a change in government process with the new election and so forth. So we're staying tuned for when that update will be released. And they have confirmed that districts are still required to put together an amended budget. And so once we receive that announcement in January, we will get to work, as we already are at work, on the amended budget.
Any questions? Move on to the policy committee recommendations.
So we continue to meet monthly. From our last policy meeting, There's two things coming forward for approval and review. So the bylaw 5-23, this work was actually done last year, but the final approval was just missed. So we just need a motion so that we can get it updated on our website. And the other one is policy 3.41 board authority courses. This is just bringing it to your attention. We're going to send it out for consultation. Once we have the consultation, we'll bring it back. I just find it helpful to put it on here because it helps me keep track of where we are with the policy so that nothing is getting missed. And then what you'll see is there are requests for repeals. So based on the work of our committee, these are the ones that we're recommending for outright repeal. The rationale for these ones is most of them are covered off by different legislation or by different like work safe BC, like we don't need them. They're kind of repetitive as policies and it's not up to date with the most recent legislation or best practices. So the recommendation is to repeal those ones outright.
So,
Want to move one at a time?
if people are okay with moving it as a package, we'll move it as a package. If somebody wants to sever one out, I'm fine either way. So why don't we start with someone putting a motion forward to move it all as a package? Moved by Kent Laidlaw, seconded by John Chenoweth. Does anyone wish to sever anything? Seeing no one putting their hand up, is anyone opposed to the package as presented? It is carried. Thank you. We are at student trustee reports.
My turn. So the first question was, how do you feel appreciated in school? I put 2 times I really feel appreciated is when the teachers notice my work and tell me how well I've done or give me any constructive criticism on how to get better. And that's academically or in sports. And as well as when a teacher has interest in me as a person and they care for me individually. And then the second one was one way how do you show appreciation and respect? I put one way I show appreciation and respect for other students is by making sure that everybody is included. For example, in like class or group discussions. And for teachers, I try my best to be respectful and follow their expectations and showing that all my attention is towards them in the lesson. And then the third one was, what more would you like to see? And I put down, I would like to see more of the activities the leadership classes do. I feel they do a great job at bringing the school together and making everybody else feel appreciated. For example, things like the winter dance coming up soon, the talent shows, and the battle of the grades.
Excellent. Thank you for that.
You get constructive criticism on your music playing?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's the only way to improve.
Yeah.
6 instruments that this guy plays.
Well, not plays. I only
30.
play 2.
We'll go to trustee reports.
Me? Okay, John Allison, you heard a lot from Courtney on DA. But I was there last night. They got a grant from Weyerhaeuser to buy some new carpets for their classrooms. And they each get $1,000. And one of the carpets I saw was $940. Now it was beautiful, it's colorful and I bet I just couldn't believe it was $1,000. It was amazing. And so all the classes are gonna get that, so it's bright and cheerful, and there's games they can play on. They did get the Code and Go robot mouse game or program. And so what they do is they sit down, they program it and learn how to code. So that's pretty cool. STEM Day was awesome. They had, I think you saw in court report, Posse players reading with them, and then they were baking with them. So they had little stations with the Posse kids, and so that's pretty good. They have a rehearsal and then a Christmas concert on the 17th. And then they have pajama day and hot dog and cookie painting on December 20th, the last day, and I'm hoping to try and go to that, so it'll be fun. And they also had a big discussion on the childcare. That's opening soon in Princeton, just that the flexibility and the costs are a little bit different from what they're used to. And it might take some time to obviously for this program to come to fruition and hopefully get down to the $10 a day daycare. So, and that was it. Thank you.
And trustee Chenoweth.
Well, I'm gonna have you do Colleyville.
Okay. I'll go back in my notes.
I've got the minutes, I could do it for you, but
Well, if you want to. I'll let
maybe
you go through the
maybe
minutes.
while you're looking, for Skides. I think that there is a lot of talk about the hockey academies and but as well as really thinking about all the students that attend there and how do they recognize them throughout the year? Because it's very difficult to do school activities when everyone's from across the province. So but I'm really amazed at what they do with you know, getting students to feel like they're part of something even though they're from afar. So they do a really good thing with that. Colleyville, I don't have to find the minutes, but I'll let you have a look.
I'll hit on a couple of things while you're looking.
Okay.
One of the things the PAC did was survey out to all the parents to see their awareness of the PAC and what they saw as items they wanted to use for their funding, among other things. So it was good to see that and the feedback that came back on that. The PAC is also looking at having a grade 7 spring dance, and because there's not a lot of grade 7s there, they're going to, I believe, approach the DPAC to see if there's interest in holding something for all grade 7s. So I think that's great as well. One of the things that came up was the underutilization of the outdoor classrooms, and so I think that's an area for us to look at that. And maybe one of the issues is actually calling it a classroom, because then you have the mindset that you need the things you have in a classroom. So that's something they're looking at. And then the PAC also helped with the purchase of all the hoodies for the grade 7s.
We'll add one thing that I see in the minutes. They did really look at a survey to parents, every email address, to say, what would you like us to do with the fundraising? And that's something I really appreciate about that PAC is they've got those responses, compiled them, discuss them at PAC, and proceed with them. So pretty well orchestrated.
And I'll head on to Merritt Secondary School. So the first item I'm going to touch on is Miss Denton is going to be holding the 2nd annual flash fiction writing contest. They held one last year, which was really successful. February 1st to 14th will be the writing, and that's where students get a genre, an object, and a location, and then from that they're to write a maximum 1,000-word short story. And so they'll be doing prizes for 1st, 2nd, and 3rd for each grade category. The categories are grades 8 through 9 and then grades 10 through 12. I think they had 38 students last year, which if you compare it to the number of students we have on a sports team was a good number of kids looking to have more. And she's also looking for more judges this year. So anyone who's listening who wants to be a judge, contact her, or if any trustees. It's great to see that. And I think that builds well off what Daniela was talking about in early learning and doing those pieces with kids. And then you see this at that other end of the spectrum where they're actually having a flash fiction writing contest. The other piece is, I don't know if we have those 2 photos or don't work or not. So this is just the group that with the toy, some of the toys in the background. So I just thought I'd highlight that for MSS on the, bringing in over 500 items. And what the kids were asked to do in the class, in the school was, what is something that you would want as a teen for Christmas? And so Really great to see that collection. The second photo is, that's a woodworking project the students work together on with epoxy. What they're looking at, so you can see some automotive parts in there. They're going to do another one for the metalwork area, another one for the carpentry area, and that'll actually be part of a bench in the hallway. They're looking at how they can beautify that hallway. And so really neat to see that that work being done. And I think there's probably a few tradespeople out there who would like to have something like that hanging behind the beverage service in their basement, or some businesses might want to look at those as benches, but really great to see all the work the kids are learning about that in pulling together a project. The other one they're working on is the grade 10 kids, is frames that they've created out of wood, 36 by 36, so they can actually put material in the hallway of what's happening within the trades wing. So great to see that happening as well. The other item I've got here is Super Secret Staff Spirit Week, and this is where the staff were, I guess, all dressing. You're plugging your ears. Dressing. So one day, all the staff wore sandals and socks just to see the reaction from the kids, and the kids trying to figure out. Or I think one day they were all black, but they did a series of different things each day just to add that to the school. So I noticed it wasn't in your, how did you find that?
How did I find that?
Yeah.
Well, it was a bit strange seeing like 20 teachers with straight jean jacket.
In tuxedo days, yeah.
We're bringing Stanley cups for drink.
I think one of them was anything except a coffee cup for your drink.
Yes.
But it was neat to see the staff coming together and doing that, and then the kids trying to figure out what was happening. It's good. I like it. For Merit Bench, one of the things that's been going out to the parents is the Healthy Promoting newsletter and the physical literacy newsletter that comes from Lisa Nelson Smith. So it's really good to see that that's also going out to the parents. Their winter concert is December 19th. Once the parents heard that Diamondville was having a evening concert, that was the first thing the parents asked is, well, when can we have an evening concert? Because being at 1 p.m. and for parents, both parents to get to it is difficult. Santa's going to be there on December 19th, and the pancake breakfast is on the 20th. And their school-based Pro D is set for February, and their special presentators be Shane Kozkan, who wrote he'll engage staff in a book club and review the text Stick Boy. So it's good to see that happening as well. I will turn it over to Trustee Kent Laidlaw.
Okay, so I was not able to go to our PAC meeting. It was last week. I have, however, been in touch with the president and just a pretty quiet meeting overall. Mostly what they did was deal with teacher requests for funds, so that got worked out. I do want to say also that we did have the band concert that was at PSS, and so it had the PSS students, it had the VFE students, and the community band. Superintendent Lawrence talked about it a little bit. Just a big shout out to the band teacher, Myrna Coates. She does an amazing job. And also it was really nice to see Superintendent Lawrence there for the band concert. So that was really nice. I also want to talk about, we're having a Santa Slam basketball tournament in Princeton for the first time in ages.
Santa Slam.
Santa Slam. So it's, I think it's the girls basketball tournament that they're holding. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And a bunch of the girls are all sleeping over at the high school on Friday night. So I'm sure they'll be wide awake and ready to play on Saturday.
Sleepover is never about sleep.
It is. It's not. They're all going to be in peak form come Saturday morning at 8:30.
On to me. Central hasn't met since our last board meeting. I think that it's next week. But there's a lot of heavy hearts around Central right now, so it might be yeah, that's just where they're at right now is heavy hearts. And Diamond Bell is excited about the hoodies they got. I think that's in your superintendent's report. The PAC supported the grade 7 graduation hoodies, which I think almost all of our schools do now. It's kind of a tradition, so it's kind of cool to see they do the signatures, right? So everyone gets their name on the hoodie. They're really excited about their Christmas concert on the evening of the 19th. I think the Grinch is gonna make an appearance to that concert, so I'm excited to attend as well. But the biggest PAC news for Diamondville is PAC president has been doing a ton of work with BCLC and their gaming grant, the state of affairs. I think I mentioned this in previous meetings. I'm not sure if you're following, but there was a bunch of money that was owed and misappropriated and blah, 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 historical stuff. And she's been doing a ton of work to try and right the ship. And just in the past month, they kind of gave the green light, like, we're good. We don't, like, it's a wash. Whatever you owed us, whatever, just start fresh, start from here. So they're really excited about that. They can get going, apply for next year's grant, hopefully, and kind of get back to a functional PAC and not have to worry about rectifying all these old invoices and documents. So kudos to them.
Good.
That's it for me.
I was at a Pack the Pit, Vermilion Forks Elementary PAC meeting. So we were at the Copper Pit Restaurant, and it was an open call to any interested parents, and the PAC purchased appetizers and just a really warm, open, maybe outside of the schoolhouse, try to, you know, see some maybe new faces. Given the sensitive nature at Vermilion Forks Elementary, we've had some disruption there, and so parents were lovely as always. We had support staff, we had Secretary Erin Woodcock, and we had Crystal Larson, principal from John Allison, come and sort of reassure parents just around all of the emotional support and the care that's happening in that school, along with all of the long list of very exciting and good things that happen in schools from day to day, which we heard from Daniela and we hear from Superintendent Lawrence. But a few of the things that I didn't know happened are snow forts, territorial snow, landmass snow. These things are very big deal, intermediate school. So you and our supervisors are cautiously watching if you have crossed the boundary of that. Triple ball tournaments, parents were talking about coming to Merritt for these great tournaments and how the kids were just pumped. And actually, in fact, it was on that day, November 28th, and Hallie had just returned back, and she's like, whoa. There's a lot of work and amazing hands up to the coaches for that. So Tristan Clevin and some parents there. She's like, I thought I was a driver. Apparently I'm a coach. So just wonderful. And I would just say their continued effort to fundraise. So this school, as I mentioned, in some hardship, there was going to their 4th massive fundraiser. So VFE band, so all the poinsettias, and thanks to Trustee Kent Laidlaw, who fearlessly helped Myrna unpack thousands of poinsettias in a band concert hall on Friday night, of all places.
I can't take credit. I didn't unpack. I just babysat them for a little while.
You did a great job. And so just a robust school community, certainly heartfelt for their principal. Just a lot of appreciation for Mrs. Kirkley, who has stepped up into the role of acting principal, and all of the staff that is doing an exorbitant amount of work caring for littles in a really difficult and trying time. I would add that I got to meet their secretary, and if you know me a little bit, you know that my heart is with administrative staff, because I am the daughter of a 30-year what I call glue, the boss of a school. And Erin did nothing but praise and acknowledge the staff she works with. And she is doing just an incredible job. So I couldn't say that enough. I will tell you that as the trustee, we have some work to do. the agenda was this. You ready for it? Hot lunch support. What are the possible uses of the Feeding Futures grant to subsidize some of the costs of the hot lunches? So I didn't have that answer, and so I would just rely on our staff to maybe when I go back, I have some information. Is there any update for the Vermilion Forks Kitchen? And we recognized last we talked in, I think it was September. I think we learned about logistics and shipping and some pieces around trying to access these upgrades for our kitchens so that we can in fact have hot lunches. And I might have even heard that we were going to try and centralize lunches for both JA and VFE and PSS. Perhaps Princeton Secondary was gonna coordinate some of that. And on the last bit of that, because President Trina and then Hallie Breen is the president of the DPAC. She thought maybe other schools would have some ideas, and so she ended up bringing that. So was anyone able to attend DPAC last week? I was not able to. So Hallie ended up sending a letter to us, and she did a little bit of digging about what is happening regarding hot lunches in the north end of the district, which we know in the south, we're trying our best to make things happen. So she said Central has a person 5 days a week. Nicola Canford has somebody helping, they say a lady, but there's a cost and it's free. Anyways, Collettville has a cook for hot lunches. Bench has a hot lunch program Tuesday to Friday. Diamondville has, so they had done some digging to say that there's paid positions. I had said, is it PAC that's paying or is it the school budget that's paying? Or like, how is it that VFE, who's been asking for a paid coordinator for almost a year, doesn't have any support still? I'm like, I'm so sorry, I don't have the answer. And so she said, if you could kindly bring that up to the board and just ask for some help or ask for some support. Currently, VFE has one person who's a noon hour, lunch hour support supervisor. They get paid an extra 30 minutes a day for making sandwiches for the kids. So she just said, you know, in our hopes as parents to support kids that don't have advocates, these parents are really trying hard to get hot lunches into those kids' tummies. And so I just ask this board to, you know, make some action happen so that in January when we come back, that this PAC has some actionable items moving forward. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Ward. I believe we have talked at one point about centralizing through TSS. I'm not sure where we're on that yet, so.
I wanted to have answers, folks. It was a very sensitive meeting too, but we need to get back.
There's supposed to be a coordinator position coming.
We'll make sure there's follow-up from district.
Thank you, Chair Swan.
Any other reports? And Cassie, I don't think we have anyone waiting online for public question period.
No.
So I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded.
Second.
Anyone opposed? Sean opposed?
Yeah.
Okay.